everyone, how you all doing? Welcome back to my channel, and today we're doing my September wrap up. So I managed to read 15 books in the month of September, which is pretty amazing. I mean, my TBR was for 19 books, but 15 is still really good and I'm still really happy with that. I did have quite a busy month, but I did read a lot of amazing books, so let's just get into talking about them. So the first book I read, I don't want to talk about for too long because it is a reread, but it is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This is one of my favorite books of all time. If you don't know what this is about, we follow our main character Eliza, and she writes this super popular webcomic called Monstrous Sea, but nobody knows outside of her family that she writes this comic. But one day she meets this new kid at school named Wallace, and he happens to be a huge fan of Monstrous Sea, and he actually writes fan fiction for it and is also trying to turn it into a novel as well. And so they kind of become friends and maybe a little bit more, but he has no idea that she writes Monstrous Sea. And it's just this beautiful book. It has anxiety representation in it, and it's just so good. It's one of my absolute favorite books of all time. This is I think my third time reading this book, and I annotated it this time, and it's just so beautiful. I had such a good time rereading this, and it was just so nice to reread it and to fall back into this world and with these characters and to just remember why I love it so much and why I feel so represented by this story and by these characters. So I just absolutely adore this book, and if you have not read it, I definitely recommend you pick it up. The next book I read was Keeper by Kim Chance. So this is kind of an urban fantasy novel about our main character Lainey, and after a 200-year-old witch attacks her, Lainey is determined to find out more and find out why. And then she finds a photograph that links her dead mom to this witch. And so after she visits a psychic, she finds out that she is what is called a keeper, essentially a witch. And she basically has to go on this mission to unlock this special magic book. It's a grimoire, and it's basically just her trying to open this and avoid the bad guys, essentially. I picked this book up because I used to love Kim Chance's YouTube channel. She no longer uploads videos, but if you want to go check out her videos, I definitely recommend it because she did have a whole lot of fun videos on writing, and so that's why I picked this book up, and I was really looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be this really amazing book, perfect for spooky season, and it was pretty good, but unfortunately I was a little bit let down by the story. It kind of felt like there was nothing going on in this book, and whatever was going on wasn't super compelling. I feel like the only reason why I even semi-enjoyed this book was because of the characters. I did enjoy the characters for the most part and their dialogue between each other. I think my favorite character was Maggie, who is Lainey's best friend, and I just feel like this book was very simple in the way that it was told, in the writing, in the plot. Just everything felt very simple and very baseline almost, which I hate to say because I was so excited for this book. But honestly, I just kind of wanted more from this book. The entire time I was reading, I just wanted it to be more. I wanted it to be more fleshed out. I wanted to be, I don't know, I just wanted a deeper look into this book. I just felt like we could have gotten so much more out of the story and it could have been way more compelling. But that being said, I didn't have an awful time reading it. I did enjoy it. The ending was very intriguing, but I don't know if I'm going to pick up the sequel. I just don't know if I care enough about the story, about these characters to know more. But overall, it was an okay read. I don't regret reading it. It was, for the most part, an enjoyable experience, so I am glad that I read it. But yeah, it just wasn't anything particularly amazing. The next book I read was Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Poston, and this book I am obsessed with, okay? This has to be one of my favorites of the entire month. It was just so good, and I knew going into it that it was going to be one of my favorites because it's Ashley Poston. It's the Once Upon a Con series. So this is the third book in the Once Upon a Con series. It's a companion series. You don't have to read them in order, but I do recommend it if you're interested in them. So we have Geekerella, Princess and the Fangirl, and then Bookish and the Beast, and unfortunately this is the last one, and I'm so sad about it because I just want to live in this world forever and I just want more content, and I'm so sad that we're not going to get any more. Hoping that she changes her mind in the future. Come on, Ashley Poston, I need more. So this book in particular, we follow two characters. We follow Rosie, who is a fan of the Starfield franchise, the books, the movies, but primarily the books. And then we have Vance, who actually stars in the Starfield movies. So basically, Vance kind of went through a scandal back in LA, and so his family kind of sent him to this little town to kind of get out of the press for a while so everything can kind of cool down. And then we have Rosie, who happens upon Vance's dog one day and follows the dog into this house where Vance is staying, and she ends up finding this beautiful library and finding all these rare editions of Starfield. It has the whole collection, and she ends up accidentally damaging this book when she falls into a pool, and so to pay off the cost of this book that she has now ruined, she has to help kind of organize this library with Vance, and it is just it's so adorable. I just loved everything about this book. I honestly think this might be my second favorite in the entire series. I think my favorite's Geekerella, and then it's this one at a very very close second, if not like tied with Gigarella, and then definitely Princess and the Fangirl is the last one. But I just, they're just so much fun, and I think the reason why, one of the reasons why I love this one so much and why it's like stands out to me so much is because Beauty and the Beast is my favorite like Disney movie, my favorite fairy tale. I just love everything to do with Beauty and the Beast, and so I just loved every single like nod to the fairy tale. It was just done so well, and I freaked out anytime there was a little reference to Beauty and the Beast, and it was really well done. These characters were just so much fun, and I loved their dynamic with each other, their banter. It was kind of hate to love. But yeah, I don't think I have any complaints about this book. Like, it was everything that I wanted it to be and more, and I just had a really good time. So if you guys are interested in this series at all, I definitely recommend picking it up because it is just so good. The next book I read was Ghost Squad by Claribel A. Ortega. So this is a middle grade fantasy book. We follow our main character Lucely. A few days before Halloween, her and her best friend accidentally raise some ghosts, some spirits, some malicious spirits into the town that they live in, and they start to like wreak havoc everywhere, and so they kind of have to go on this mission to like gather all these ghosts and like get rid of these ghosts to save the town. And it is a really adorable book. It's not like a favorite or anything. Whenever I like review a middle grade book, I always say that middle grade just isn't necessarily for me. Like, I can never like connect to them. I always forget that my favorite book of all time is a middle grade novel. So I can't say that's invalid. I feel like most of the time I have a hard time connecting to middle grade, and that's not like a fault of the book. That's just, you know, me being 20 years old reading a book about like 10-year-olds, you know? It's bound to happen that I'm not going to connect to them. But overall, I thought this book was really cute, really enjoyable. I liked the writing, I liked the characters, I really liked the grandma in the book, Babette. I loved the cat Chunk, adorable. And I thought Lucely and her best friend were really cute and fun as well. I liked their like spunkiness, they were pretty cute. I was really invested in the storyline actually. I really wanted to make sure that everything was going to be okay by the end. There's this whole plot line with Lucely's like ancestors being like taking the form of fireflies, and I'm pretty sure that's like Dominican like folklore or Dominican like myths or something like that, and I really enjoyed that, and I was really invested in making sure that these fireflies were going to be okay. But overall, this book was fun. I can definitely see myself rereading it in the future. So like the perfect spooky time read. So if you are looking for a perfect book, ghosts, magic, spookiness, I definitely recommend picking it up this month because it's the perfect book to read at this time of the year, and it was just really fun. Like I said, I can definitely see myself rereading it because it was just like a really quick short read, and it was just a lot of fun. The next book I read was another favorite of the month, and that was To Selena with Love by Chris Perez. This is a book written by Selena Quintanilla's husband, Chris Perez, and it's kind of all about his life with Selena, him getting into the band, him falling in love with Selena. It's kind of about Selena's life a little bit, and then obviously we touch on her death as well near the end. And this book, I don't know, it was just really good. So I've known about Selena since I was a kid. I watched the movie. My mom played her music in the car, primarily the Dreaming of You album. So Selena was kind of always in my life, like underlying, but all I really knew about Selena was what was portrayed in the movie, which isn't actually 100% accurate, obviously, to real life. Whatever little research I had done on her, I typically would research her death and Yolanda, who is her murderer, and all things like that, but I didn't know like details about her love life with Chris, or like I didn't know like the real Selena, you know? Like I just knew about her death and whatnot, would watch like interviews sometimes of her as well and performances. But I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed getting to see an insight into Selena's life and learning more about her and learning what actually happened instead of what happened in the movie, and seeing Chris's point of view over everything, because in the movie it's all like about Selena and it's all like from her family's point of view and like what her family wanted to be in the movie, whereas this is more Chris's point of view and what he experienced with Selena. And I just really enjoyed it, and I think that it was really great of Chris to write this book and to let people into Selena's life like this when he didn't have to. Like, he didn't have to write a book like this. He didn't have to open up and share his life with Selena, with the world, and I'm really glad that he did because it was such a good book and it made me cry. If you guys check out my Stranger Things vlogs, you can see me cry in, I think it's week 2 of me just crying over this book because it really hit me, and it was just really good. So if you guys like Selena Quintanilla, I definitely recommend picking this book up. If you've heard of her and are interested, pick this book up. It's definitely one of my favorite like non-fiction memoir-y type books. It was just really well done, and my mom actually made me read this one, so I'm glad that she did because I really enjoyed it. The next book I actually listened to on audio, and it's Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I honestly don't know how to describe this book. I feel like I missed a lot of things listening to it on audio. Like, I really liked the audiobook and like the production of it, so I kind of wish I read it physically along with the audiobook. It's basically about like Korean mythology, gumiho, which are like the nine-tailed foxes, I believe they are, and basically they have to like feed on humans in order for them to survive. They stop like killing humans, then they die. So it's kind of about that. I did find myself enjoying this book. It wasn't a favorite, and I don't think it's gonna stick with me for very long, and I do think that that's partially especially because I didn't feel connected while listening to the audiobook. I think that because it deals a lot with Korean mythology and something that I'm not familiar with, there were a lot of words that I missed out on that I just didn't understand hearing it. Plus I listened to things on 2x speed, so I feel like that definitely was an issue. So it's definitely like a personal thing, like that was just my bad. I did not read this book the way that I should have, and I would be interested to possibly reread it one day physically so I can get more out of it, because I did enjoy it. I was invested in the characters and what was going on with them, the relationship, everything like that. So I think if I were to read this book physically, I would enjoy it a bit more. I think I was more so invested in the characters than the actual story. This is one that I would consider revisiting to see if I can have a better appreciation for it, because I love Kat Cho, love her YouTube channel, love her like social media in general. I think her writing was good. The cover is also freaking beautiful, and I would like to read the sequel, but if I were to read the sequel, I'd have to read this first book first. So maybe when I feel comfortable going back to a library, once this pandemic kind of slows down a little bit, maybe I will pick up a copy at the library and reread it, because I do want to enjoy this book and love it and have it on my shelves. So it was alright. Did not consume the story in the way that I probably should have. That's my fault. This next book I'm going to touch on real quick. I read Self-Editing for Fiction Writers, How to Edit Yourself into Print. This is by Rennie Brown and Dave King. This is a book all about how to self-edit. Essentially, it has a bunch of different sections on like dialogue and show versus tell. I annotated it a lot, but I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really, really helpful. I'm currently revising my novel. You guys can go check out my writing vlog for September to see me start those revisions. I'm finding this book to be really, really helpful, and I'm definitely going to be incorporating a lot of the things that I learned in this book into my revisions. And so if you guys need help editing your book, then I definitely recommend this one because it was super, super helpful. The next book that I read, I'm not going to talk about too much again, and that is The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. This is another reread for me. I annotated this one for a second time. I annotated it a couple years ago, so I added some new annotations this time around. I love this book. If you guys don't know what it's about, basically follow our main character, A.J. Fikry, and he is this bookseller, and he's kind of like a grump. His wife passed away like a year ago or like a couple years ago before the book starts. I honestly can't remember. So he's kind of dealing with that and the grief over that. And basically one day his rare collection of Edgar Allan Poe poems go missing, and that's kind of like an underlying thing about the whole story. And then one day an unexpected package of sorts arrives at his store. A baby is left at his store with a note saying like, take care of my baby. I want my baby to be raised around books and stuff like that. And so AJ is like, what the hell do I do with this kid? He ends up taking this little girl in, and this is kind of his chance to start his life over. And it's such a beautiful story. So like, I think it's a literary novel, it's an adult novel, and I love it a lot. I think if you love books about bookish people and book stories, then this is something that you might enjoy. I love it a whole lot. I love the characters. I love the little romance going on. I just love the story, and there's so many good lines and quotes in this book, and so I definitely recommend this one. It is a lot of fun every single time. The next book I read was another big favorite of mine, and that is 10 Things I Hate About Pinky by Sandia Menon. This is the third book and also the final book. Two of my favorite like companion series finished this month, but this is the third book in the Dimpleverse series. Again, don't have to read it in order, but I do recommend it because we get cameos and they're a lot more satisfying if you read it in order. But this one follows our main character Pinky, and her mom never seems to be pleased with the decisions that Pinky makes. She always is disappointed. Then we also follow our main character Samir, and he is supposed to be starting this summer internship at this like law firm, but it ends up falling through. And so Pinky ends up recruiting Samir to be her fake boyfriend for the summer, hoping that by him being this perfect boyfriend, the perfect guy that her parents would love for her to date, might get her parents off of her back and see that she can make good decisions. It's kind of a hate to love situation, fake dating. It's got all the good tropes in it, and I just absolutely adored it. I loved these characters, this relationship. I mean, I already knew I liked these characters because they were featured in There's Something About Sweetie, which is the second book, but we just got to delve so much deeper into them in this book, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really loved the relationship between Pinky and Samir, even though there was a bit of back and forth at the end that did bother me a little bit, but overall I really, really enjoyed how the relationship kind of progressed, and it gave me like all the warm, fluttery feelings. I just think Sandia Menon writes these books and these stories so incredibly well, and I am just obsessed with each one, and each time I read one I'm like, is this my favorite? Is that my favorite? I don't know. I think my favorite might be tied between this one and There's Something About Sweetie, because I just love them so much. I genuinely cannot choose. Besides the thing with the relationship, the back and forth at the end of the book, I don't think I have that many complaints about the story. It was just really good. It just gave me all the feel-good feelings. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend you guys go pick up this series because it is just, it's so good. So then the next three books, I can't actually talk about what I thought about them. So I'm doing a reading vlog where I'm reading these books, and it hasn't come out yet, and it's not going to be coming out for a little while, and I don't want to spoil anything about what I think about these books, so I'm just going to run through them real quick and let you know what they are. So there's is Summer Assault by Katrina Leno, You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, and also Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. Not gonna say anything about what I felt about them, you're just gonna have to wait to see the vlog. The next book that I read was The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. A random fantasy mood overcame me near the end of September, and it was just all I wanted. So this book literally was the perfect read. I feel like it was exactly what I was needing in the moment. So this book, for me, it's a little bit hard to explain. I'm really bad at explaining things. It's basically about this town called Four Paths, and we kind of follow the founder's ancestors who kind of like run the town, and everyone kind of like looks up to them. They're supposed to keep the town safe from the Grey, which is like this monster that like lurks in the forest kind of thing. And all of a sudden the Grey starts to kill a bunch of people, and so they're like really panicking, trying to figure out how to like fix it and how to like defeat the Grey so it stops killing people. I was really excited for this book. It came out last year. I've been wanting to read it ever since it came out, and I just never got around to it. I actually think I picked it up twice last year from the library, and I just couldn't get past like the same mark because I wasn't in the mood. But I was in the mood this time. That is the key. I was in the mood this time, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked the characters and all the dynamics between the characters. I really liked the atmosphere. Christine Lynn Herman is great at atmosphere and like setting up a scene. I can definitely see why this is compared to the Raven Boys. It has very similar like atmosphere for sure and like setting. And let me tell you, if you're looking for a good like spooky supernatural fantasy kind of story, I definitely recommend picking this up. It is the perfect time of year to read this book, in the fall time, so definitely recommend picking this up in the next couple of months. I really enjoyed the characters, the writing, the setting. I really enjoyed the plot of it, the mystery about the Grey and learning more about the Grey and learning about all of these kids' powers and seeing all of it just come together. I really enjoyed. I feel like I don't have any complaints about this book either. I really had a great time reading it. I was really invested. I had a wonderful time. I can't wait to pick up the sequel and read it, even though the cover doesn't match and it pisses me off. It's fine. The next book I read I also can't talk about because I don't want to spoil a vlog. It just went up the other day, but it is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. I was lucky to be sent an ARC of this book from Julia over at Reader's World. She got an ARC from work, and so she sent it my way because she knew that I wanted it, and I'm so grateful for that, so thank you, Julia. But yeah, I have a whole spoiler-free reading vlog for this book, and I don't want to spoil that vlog if you have not seen it, so definitely go check it out up in the cards. It is out. It came out on release day. All I'm going to say is that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It's heavily tabbed. That's all I'm gonna say. And finally, the last book that I read was King of Crows by Libba Bray, another book that is just perfect to read at this time of the year. I did really great with my TBR this month. Go me. King of Crows is the fourth book in the Diviners series. If you don't know what this series is about, it's set in 1920s New York. It's like a supernatural type of story, and we follow these characters called diviners, who basically are just people who have like special powers. And in the first book, we're following them as they're trying to like solve this murder that's happening in New York, and there's a bunch of like spooky things happening. And it's just like it's a fun series, supernatural, spooky, perfect to read at this time of the year. I definitely recommend the audiobooks for this series. I think the narrator does a fantastic job. The entire time I've been listening to this series, I've always said like I'm enjoying it, but I'm not like super invested. Like I'm just listening to it because I want something to listen to, and I was like invested in like particularly two characters' storylines, and I wanted to know how they played out. But I think by this last book, without me really noticing it until like near the end of the book, I think I was actually really invested in the series and in these characters. I don't think it's like a favorite by any means, and I don't know why. Like I genuinely, it's one of those series and one of those books I just can't pinpoint how I actually feel about it. Like I don't know how I feel about the series. I enjoyed it. I obviously listened to the entire series, and these books are not small. They're like 20-hour audiobooks. So I obviously had to enjoy them to some extent to keep on listening. I like the spookiness of it. There was definitely the creep factor that was good. There were some things in this last book that I was just reading, and then all of a sudden I was like nearly crying, and I had to like stop what I was doing. I was like, oh my god, this is intense. I didn't even realize that I was that invested, and it was just like, don't hurt my babies kind of thing. So I think that this is one of those series that I might get a better appreciation for if I were to reread it, but it was enjoyable. I do recommend it. There is a reason why so many people are in love with this series, and I'm glad that I finished it. I'm glad that I went through the entire series and read it, and I'm really happy that I finally finished it. So those are all of the 15 books that I read in the month of September. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Comment down below what you guys read in the month of September. Subscribe if you have not yet already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Oh, my least favorite part of the video. And now I have to hold all of these books. It is my least favorite part. Why do I read so many books? You know, everyone wants to read a lot of books, and then, you know what? This is what happens when you do. You film for 30 minutes, And you have to hold up all the books for a freaking thumbnail. Oh, I'm too weak for this. Okay. I gotta make sure the hair is good. Why am I so far to this one side? Bring it in a little, Brittany. Okay. Holy shit. Can I try to do it? Or they're the other way without dropping them? Oh my lord. Oh my lord. I don't know if I can. Come on, don't drop. No, I don't want to. Okay. I think I like the other way better. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Ah!